As those arrested last night for defying Mayor Henry Meyer's emergency edict banning night marches were being bailed out this morning, the mayor himself was lifting the marching ban beginning tomorrow. In doing so, the mayor was taking a chance, gambling that the leader of the demonstrators, Catholic clergyman Father James Groppi, would heed his plea and not take his followers back to the predominantly south side. The mayor, in his statement, appealed to Groppi to be reasonable.
The proclamation still allowed daytime marches. Instead of marching in the day, Father Groppi chose to break the law. He has chosen to flout the law. It seems to me that the only appeal left now is to his conscience and to whatever responsibility he might feel for the common good. I asked him to place the common good above his own personal emotions. I am lifting the proclamation at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Though bail was generally set at $25, Groppi's bail was $1,000. After paying it, the priest left, again complaining of police brutality.
How about these charges this morning that you resisted arrest, etc.?
That's nonsense. I'm getting awful concerned about the lies at the police department. But they not only said I resisted arrest, they said I used profanity, see. Now, I didn't resist arrest, and I didn't use profanity. And earlier, of course, I was charged with battery.
Are you saying that the police officers are lying, Father?
That is correct. Either they're lying or they've got a terrific imagination. I can't understand it. I've seen too much of this. They were fighting over me. One man grabbed me behind the neck like this, and the other officer came up and put that billy club around my neck and began to pull me back. And the officer that had me behind the neck threw the other officer off and said, "Leave him alone. I'll take care of him. Don't worry, Father. No one's going to beat you up. No one's going to beat you up." Apparently, they were laying for me.
The arrests began shortly after some 400 demonstrators started out from St. Boniface Roman Catholic Church to march in direct defiance of the mayor's proclamation. They got but 7 blocks before they ran into a police roadblock. Before it was over, at least 150 persons were hauled away by police. Several injuries were also reported. At times, police struggled to contain Negro bystanders who wanted to come to the aid of those arrested.
Let's disperse. Crowd down there in the corner. Let's disperse. Let's clear the streets.
By early afternoon, Father Groppi and the rest were out on bail. Another rally is expected tonight, but the mayor's no-march edict will also be in effect this final night. Ike Pappas, CBS News, Milwaukee.
Milwaukee has had a lesson in issue building. The Reverend James Groppi and the NAACP Youth Council have been the city's most militant civil rights advocates for a long time. But their open housing issue came into sharp focus early this week with 2 marches into an all-white neighborhood and the burning of their rallying point here known as Freedom House. These events precipitated the mayor's ban on demonstrations and the turbulent marches which defied it. That ban on demonstrations was lifted effective this morning, but Father Groppi and the Youth Council were not willing to wait. After 3 hours of speeches, they marched last night, and they were halted by police within a half block of the Catholic church grounds where they had assembled. Father Groppi was arrested the second night in a row with 14 others. Police, the targets of rocks and bottles from some of the marchers, charged the crowd, driving them off the street and back onto the church grounds. More bricks and debris came flying from both sides of the street. 19 persons were injured, 15 of them policemen. Angry police finally charged onto the church grounds, clubs swinging, and began firing tear gas into the crowd gathered near the church and school. In the wake of the violence, more than 20 fires were set in nearby Negro neighborhoods, 4 of them blamed on fire bombs. Still another march is in progress at this hour. Comedian Dick Gregory and possibly other national civil rights figures expected to attend. Father Groppi and the Youth Council say that they intend to keep it up. They call it pressure. Some others are calling it blackmail. Bill Plant, CBS News, Milwaukee.
The National Conference for New Politics has been waiting since last Tuesday for a public confrontation between the Black People's Caucus and the full convention. It came this morning on the convention floor. The Black Caucus, which had stayed outside the convention, finally put 13 demands as their price for taking part. Among other points, they demanded the convention condemn Israel for what they called the imperialist Zionist war of last June, And they insisted that white civilizing committees be set up in white communities to humanize the beast-like white men symbolized by George Lincoln Rockwell and Lyndon Baines Johnson. Then came the debate. The argument in favor was for unity.
All of us have been involved in this. Why can't we act with each other as fellow human beings and be able to come out with a political organization with economic demands that can be a threat to the two major parties? I speak for this resolution.
I have talked to lots of people who say they will vote in favor of this resolution. Why? Because they agree with it? No. Because if we do not, the black people will walk out, and we don't want that. Let's humor the Black Caucus. Let's say whatever the Black Caucus wants us to say. This is hypocrisy and patronization of the worst sort to both the Black Caucus and to the black people of this country, and I oppose it.
The blacks had put their resolutions to the convention on a take-it-or-leave-it basis. There was some grumbling among the delegations from Massachusetts, New York, and California, but the mood of most of the convention delegates was to give the blacks what they were after. The vote in favor was overwhelming, 3-1. Afterwards, some of the leaders of the convention expressed their dismay.
I think the passage of the resolution of the Black Caucus sounds the death knell for any possibility of joint action among peace and civil rights radicals in this country.
Well, I'm specifically against the resolution dealing with the anti-imperialist Zionist war. I feel that we have to state our opposition to imperialism per se, imperialistic wars. I think the very fact that it says this is not anti-Semitic indicates some psychological guilt feeling.
What about what happened here today, Mr. Weiss?
Well, I think it demonstrated that black people as well as white people, singly or together, can make damn fools of themselves. I think what happened here was a travesty and a tragedy. It wasn't a demonstration of black power, it was a demonstration of blackmail.
White radicals are running this convention, but they understood that they needed the blacks if they were to have a true coalition. So they made concessions to the Black People's Caucus that many of them privately deplore. There are not a few here who believe that in those concessions could lie the future doom of the New Politics Coalition. Mike Wallace, CBS News, Chicago.
The afternoon speeches began by blasting the war in Vietnam. Delegates started chanting, "We won't go, hell no." But when James Forman, the former chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, spoke, the current of this convention turned from politics to black power.
What I am saying, and this is to my brothers and sisters in the audience, is that you must realize that we, as the most exploited and most oppressed group in the United States, must assume the leadership and give direction to the forms of our struggle. That is our right. That is our responsibility, and anyone who does not like it can go to hell, and we must tell them that.
While Foreman was on the floor, H. Rap Brown told a Chicago South Side group that power comes from the mouth of a gun, quoting Mao Zedong. He then went to the Palmer House, where the Black Caucus held a news conference. Harry Porterfield and Walter Jacobson report.
It isn't a political party, and it isn't a structured organization, but it is stealing the interest here at the second to the last day of the New Politics Convention here at the Palmer House. It's the Black Caucus, and it was born out of the dissension of Negro delegates to the convention over the way the convention was run. At a news conference tonight, spokesman for the Black Caucus, his name is Carlos Russell, stated the position of delegates to the Black Caucus.
We feel that we have accomplished a great deal in these few days. We have set up a machinery that will now move across the country, hopefully to surge towards community organization on the local level for the acquisition of black power in every single aspect that confronts the life of black people in America.
This convention was billed as the beginning of support for a new party in the United States, but that idea was swamped long ago in a rising tide of Negro militancy. The trend as business closed today was toward support instead for an armed Negro revolution. In perspective, though, it should be noted that there are 22 million Negroes in the United States. The number here was under 1,000. Walter Jacobson, WBBM Television News at the Palmer House.
Open housing demonstrators marched in Milwaukee today for the 7th day in a row. Led by Father James Groppi, the 700 demonstrators marched through downtown Milwaukee and the city's north side.
Hundreds gathered again today at Father Groppi's parish church after covering nearly 20 miles in marches yesterday and into the early morning hours. It was peaceful last night until very near the end when police marching with the demonstrators were hit with a few rocks and firecrackers. Comedian Dick Gregory, who says he's here for the duration of the open housing movement, had some words of caution for the militants.
I want to talk to you again about these brick throwers. When we going out here marching against a no-good white cracker system, some nigga in the line that's going to throw a brick or a bottle at one of these crackers, then you worse than he is. If you don't have to become so insane that you're going to throw a bottle at a cop with a gun and leave your lines open for 40 other cops to rush in, then baby, you might as well put on the policeman's uniform.
Gregory advised that the best thing to do with brick throwers is to turn them in to police. Supporters of the movement are arriving from other cities, and the tedious marching continues. Tomorrow, the first day of school, Father Groppi has urged parents to keep their children home. They will learn more, he says, by marching. Bill Plant, CBS News, Milwaukee.
I propose that the black caucus be given half the votes in this convention, and the white caucus be given half the votes in this convention, and they each vote separately, and when they vote, the three can be biased. And when they don't, then we have to just accept what happens and let the black people in this country do the black thing and the white people do the white thing. And when both the black and the white agree, we have unity.
We need a third party. We can't stay with the same party we have now, the Republicans or the Democrats, people that don't represent us in any way. What we need is the voice of a socialist movement, something that's going to move the people in the long run. Black, white, brown, yellow, pink, you pick it. But it needs black, brown power, and it needs our power.
The vote in favor of the majority of the Credentials Committee, that is favoring giving the Black Caucus 50% of the votes, that is 28,300 accredited votes. That vote is 16,259. Those voting opposed, that is in favor of the minority report, are 7,300.
We have just shown the nation that black people can fight. And we have also shown the nation that from this conference now we can proceed to new politics as was designed